This new video will be devoted to a study with oil paint. I will paint an angel lit up by a candle at night. You might have guessed that the theme is how to render light and shadow, and I will focus more on this technical aspect for this video. The painting will be a quick study, so it didn't take me a lot of time to achieve it. It was done in 2 days, probably. Now, I won't show you here the complete whole process, but if you wish to see the whole process step by step as a long-time content video, please head on my Patreon page where I will upload it there. So, as I said, I wanted this painting to be just a quick study of light and shadow. You will see later on that I used an old palette with leftover oil paint that I wanted to use up. To give a bit of context, actually it was a moment of doubt about my skill while I'm making this painting. I was working on an oil painting which did not work at all because I think I didn't really take time to study the subject, and also I did not use the right medium to paint on it. To sum up the story, I wanted to try to paint for the first time on a board panel, but I used a clay board panel and it didn't fit at all the way I like to paint. I should have used a simple board wood panel, and I will for sure try again to oil paint on a panel, but a wood board one and not a clay board. So be careful when you choose your medium. It really matters with oil paint especially. So I had to give up, which shows you that not everything goes right sometimes, and this little mishap really made me lose trust in my ability to use oil paint. And I decided to make this quick study with the leftover paint, which reassured me that I'm still able to oil paint. Sometimes you really need to make these little studies to give you back your confidence. I like, as you might have seen in my previous art video, working on sharp contrast between light and shadow, and I wanted to tackle the subject of a figure by candlelight. I used paper for oil paint for this study that I gessoed beforehand. As a disclaimer, my art style is not realistic. I like imaginative drawings which are inspired by reality, but my characters are completely from imagination, and it will be the case for this painting. And usually I like to use reference images for lighting purpose or to check how some elements of the painting should be done in order to give a more realistic effect to the drawing or the painting, but still keeping the imaginative style. I think if I remembered, I used one reference image from a candlelight picture just to be sure how to paint a flame, but the overall lighting and shadow for this painting, I managed to figure it out myself. Maybe it is not perfect, but I really wanted to train my brain on how I should paint the light and shadow, a shadow of a character lit by a candle this time. So this is also why the draft sketch is not too complex. My goal was really to focus on how the light diffused by the flame of the candle will be distributed on the painting as logically as possible. Before I explain more the technical aspects of this painting, let's talk about the color palette. These days my palette is really limited, and most of the time I use the same colors that I will list now on the screen. And And from time to time, I can add some green or blue or other colors of the spectrum if I need to add some depth to the mixing of my color paint or to reach a certain effect that I cannot get with the current colors of this limited palette. Now let's come back to the core of the subject, which is how to separate the light from the shadow in this painting in line with how the flame of the candle is diffused. The scene takes place at night and the angel is lit up only by the candle. The candle is in the middle position, so the light is glowing from the center and will fade away at the edges. What is in the center is logically the more lit up, and what is at the periphery of the painting is in the shadow. So the tunic of the angel, his face, and a part of his wings will be in the light. But even if the center part of the painting is in the light, we cannot just make everything in a golden or white color to signify this light. First of all, we need to give dimension to the painting. It is a work of imagination, but I want some depth, and it is important to go gradually and to shift the colors progressively when necessary, or to the contrary, to really add sharp contrast. Gradation of colors and sharp contrast are the key for creating this type of warm glowing candlelight. We want to create an intimate feeling with the candlelight. It is not a light of the day, for example, which has more sharp and clean edges. In candlelight, the edges are softer, but there are some parts where we need a sharp contrast to also create this effect of darkness melted with shadow, if it makes sense. So to achieve this effect, I'm using colors, of course. Regarding the tones of the color, I went for brown yellow palette, which is a nice complementary color with the blue of the night sky. Now, regarding this night sky, you will see toward the end of the video that it is quite a simple night sky with dots, white dots representing the stars. It is a bit of a symbolic sky night, and I could have been more realistic, but my work is from imagination, as I said, and also I wanted to draw the attention to the candle and the angel and not the sky. So back to the angel and the warm tones that I used. In my mind, this angel is blonde with white wings and a white tunic, a typical angel. So at night, by the candlelight, the tunic would appear yellow around the candle. And the more you go further away, the more the color will shift to white warm peachy tones until it goes to brown in the edges and a very dark brown under the sleeved arms, for example. So now it is very important to take into account the light and the shadow cast by the different elements of the painting. This is what will really give dimension to the painting. Even if the light is bright around the center, some elements block this light and cast a very dark shadow. And we really need to show this dark shadow to paint this dark contrast in order to create this candlelight intimacy atmosphere. So for example, under the eyes of the angel, a shadow is cast. So I really intensify the darkness around his eyes. The eyes are protuberant on the face, as well as the nose and the mouth and the eye point of the cheekbones. And all these elements will cast this sharp contrast and shadow on the face, which is also lit up brightly by the candle. The figure of the angel also casts a shadow behind on its wings. So you will see later on that I traced this dark line just behind the shoulders of the angel. The pleats of the tunics were also very interesting to paint. Inside the sleeves are the darkest part, so I really emphasized the dark browns in these areas. I also like how I did his hair. His hair is wavy and each wave casts a sharp shadow underneath. Around his ears as well, we've caused these sharp shadows. The feathers of the wings follow the same rule. Under the feathers, I added darkest lines. Back to the face of the angel with this time his forehead, I really tried to nuance the colors, going to the darkest tone near the hairline until the lightest tone in the center of the forehead. Now let's talk about his nose. The tip of the nose and the bridge of the nose are one of the lightest parts of this painting. The shadow around the nose and under really create this deep contrast between light and shadow. And all these elements which cast shadow create the volume of the painting literally and sculpt the elements of the face. This sculpting effect with color shift and contrast sculpt as well the feathers of the wings, the pleats of the tunic. The collarbone of the angel is a good example as well, the darkest part representing the hollow part of the collarbone. Let's not forget about the candle, of course the most important element. The flame is moving and the flame as well casts its own shadow on the chest of the angel. So I laid out the colors from the darkest at the very beginning, defining the shadows first, then I applied a more orangey, yellow tones, and then clear tones like white and light pink. With oil paint, you really need to apply the layers again and again until you get a texture you can work with. So even if at the beginning it seems that the shadows I applied are completely covered by successive layers, I think they can still pick through. And then I'm adjusting the values until I'm satisfied. Of course, I kept the application of pure white or pure light yellow for the very end, where the light is the strongest, like the top of the wings, the flame of the candle, the face of the angel like the bridge of the nose that I talked earlier about, and the lips, and some part of the silky hair reflecting light. I like to apply these last accents almost in an impasto way with a bit of thickness, which gives a nice texture to the final painting and of course create more volume and dimension. Oil paint really works in a mysterious way. You need to add more color here, or more shadow there, or more light at a certain place, or subtract the shadow or the light when it is too much. It is something easy to do with oil paint, but at the same time these colors marks are still there depending on the transparency of layer. Sometimes we can still see them peeking through even if masked by another layer, and I think it is creating the magic and the depth of oil paints that you cannot get with any other medium, and that I'm discovering each time I'm doing a new oil painting. That is why I love so much oil paint, and that is why I want to explore and experiment more and more with this medium. Now enough with talking. I hope I explained a bit of my process on how I work shadow and light for an imaginative painting. I will stop there and let you enjoy watching the rest of the video. Again, this is not the whole process. I recorded all the steps. If you want a very long version with no interruption, I will upload it very soon on my Patreon. If you have any questions or if you have any tips to improve my oil painting skills, please do not hesitate to leave a comment below. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel. It would help me a lot. The next video will be a watercolor painting that I cannot wait to share with you. Thank you again for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.